Squeezed for God's greater purpose. Mike had always been a force in the world of systems, sales and software. His mind worked like a well-oiled machine, piecing together strategies and solutions effortlessly. Over the years, he had built a reputation in San Diego as a guru who could teach, lead and sell with precision. On the outside, he seemed to have everything he needed for success. But deep inside, Mike felt like something was missing, a nagging sense that his life's purpose had yet to fully unfold. For years, Mike tried to shape his career into what he thought was God's calling for him. He used his talents to climb the corporate ladder and teach others how to do the same. However, despite all his achievements, there was a certain restlessness, a feeling that his true potential was still untapped. It was only when everything started to unravel that Mike's life took an unexpected turn. Out of nowhere, his business took a hit. Key relationships strained, and he found himself in a situation he had never planned for. For the first time, Mike wasn't in control. He felt squeezed, pushed into circumstances he never would have chosen for himself. At first he resisted, thinking, why would God use this situation, these people, to test me? He wanted God to intervene in a different, more straightforward way, to smooth things out, not break them down. But through the pressure and pain, something began to shift. Slowly, Mike realized that it wasn't about his plans or his ideas of success. It was about surrender. As he reflected on the words of Colossians chapter 1, verse 24, I now rejoice in my sufferings for you and fill up in my flesh what is lacking in the afflictions of Christ, for the sake of his body, which is the church. Mike understood that this season was about more than his personal success. It was about being broken for a higher purpose. He stopped resisting and began to embrace the challenge in front of him. In that moment of clarity, he saw what God had been doing all along. All his skills, sales, systems, teaching, even the software knowledge, were pieces of a much bigger puzzle. God was using this tough season to transform Mike, not just into a more successful version of himself, but into someone who could impact others in ways he had never imagined. Mike's journey became less about the personal accolades and more about serving others. He found himself stepping into roles and opportunities that allowed him to teach, mentor, and build in ways that glorified God's purpose, not his own. The squeezing had turned him into something new, someone who could pour out his gifts for a higher cause, bringing together all his talents in a way that he never could have planned. In the end, Mike's success wasn't defined by the systems he mastered or the sales he closed, but by the way he allowed himself to be shaped into what God had in store. Through the trials, he became like fine wine, poured out for others in service, fulfillment and purpose. His life echoed the realization, here am I, send me. Isaiah 6:8. God had taken the very circumstances Mike once resisted and used them to produce something far greater than he ever imagined. Mike's journey shows us that sometimes the very circumstances we resist are the ones God is using to bring out our true purpose. Just like Mike, we may have a vision for our lives that feels right, successful, comfortable, and well-planned. But when things don't go our way, and we feel squeezed by challenges we didn't expect, it's easy to push back, to resist, and to question why God would allow us to face such trials. But what if, like Mike, God is using these pressures to lead you towards something greater? As it says in Colossians 1:24, I now rejoice in my sufferings for you, and fill up in my flesh what is lacking in the afflictions of Christ, for the sake of his body, which is the church. Maybe the suffering and challenges you're experiencing are not obstacles, but God's way of shaping you into a vessel for something new and powerful. So, where in your life are you feeling squeezed? Where have you been resisting God's plan because it doesn't align with your expectations? It could be in your career, your relationships, or even in your faith. Stop resisting the pressure and instead give it to God. Allow him to work through the people, circumstances, and challenges you didn't expect. Let him shape your talents, gifts, and even your struggles into something greater than you can imagine. Like Mike, you may find that when you stop resisting and say, "Here am I, send me," Isaiah 6:8, God will unlock a purpose in you that brings everything together in a way that not only fulfills you but serves others. Where do you need to surrender today? What are you holding on to that God is asking you to let go of so he can turn the grapes of your life into fine wine? Trust that he is doing a work in you, even through the squeezing, and that in the end it will be something beautiful, poured out for his greater purpose.